In this tutorial, I want to show you how to add instrument layers to an existing patch. Sometimes you will have it where instead of going from the piano pad down to the grand and going down, you just want to add another instrument channel into the existing patch. And so to do that, we would come over here and we see this plus, and so I'm going to hit that in addition, and then it gives me some different options. In most situations you're just going to add one and you're adding in an instrument, and so I'm going to hit create, and what you'll notice that down here a new instrument that they've called instrument 29 has come up. So what I can do is I can actually move these around. So I'm going to move this channel strip, that's what we would call these here, and let's say in this situation I want to add an organ sound. So I already have an existing piano, I have a pad underneath, and I want to add a B3, a Hammond B3 organ. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to come down here, I'm going to double click, and I'm going to call this, for our sake, what we like to do is call these channels. So I'm going to call it channel 3, and then I'm going to call it organ. You could call it B3 whatever, hit return, and so now that is labeled. And then after that, what we need to do is make sure that we assign this fader to our MIDI controller so we can control it. So again, to do this, this is a little bit review. What I'm going to do is kind of hard to see, but this is channel 1, this says channel 2, channel 3. So I want channel 3, so I'm going to select channel 3, it's blue, come down, say map parameter, and then I just come over here and click on this fader, and then you'll notice that when I move this physical fader, it is also moving up on the MIDI controller that is glowing red right now. So you can see that those are moving, that they're linked. So I have that linked. I'm going to push that map parameter and turn it off. So at this point it is still linked. You can see that they're moving here, and I can actually come up here and move it as well. So I have those linked. Now what I need to do is go in, and in this channel strip I have to tell this channel strip what to do. And so we want to add an instrument, and so we're going to come into the input, and it is grayish black right now, and I'm going to come in here, and these are all the different instrument options that I have. So these first ones are going to be the recent ones we've gone into. We actually see Omnisphere, we see a vintage B3 organ, some other instruments. This first batch are the instruments that are in MainStage, and so these first ones here are all their different synthesizers. They have an organ and some different pianos, and then as I come down here I can go also into these AU instruments, and these are where some of the what we would say are plug-in instruments. So this is going to be Omnisphere native instruments, and so you can see over here we have some different things. If I wanted to go in and add Omnisphere, I'd come over here, click on stereo, and then that would give me an instance of Omnisphere. So for our situation, what I'm going to do is, instead of using this vintage B3 organ, I wanted to show you how to use the one that we typically use, which is down here in the native instruments packet. They're just better sounding organs, and so we tend to use these. So I'm going to highlight on native instruments, and for you just have to know this, ours is in contact 5, and then from here I'm going to come over and we're going to always do stereo. So I'm going to click on stereo, and that instrument will load, and then what this actually did now is this brought up contact, and within contact we have a whole bunch of different things. We have some different pianos, we have some drums, we actually have some strings, some vintage keys, more strings, and we get down here and we see the vintage organ. So from here what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the gray, and then we have some different ones in here, and these are all, it's all the same instrument, these are just different presets. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on this basic jazz, double click on it, and then you'll come over here and you'll actually see that now that instrument is in the channel strip. So at this point I'm not going to get into changing these different sounds. We'll do that in a different tutorial. So for now, I'm just going to exit out. So hit the X. And now you'll notice that it says contact 5. I have my organ in there. And let's see, I should be able to even play this. Can't hear it per se, but it is playing. And so that is how you add an instrument. And so let's just to review that and do it again. Let's say we wanted to add another pad into this patch. So to add a pad, I'm going to come up here to the plus. To add an instrument, I'm going to leave these the same, outputting to channel 1 and 2. Hit create. My instrument came up, so I'm going to move this, and I'm actually going to move it in here. Actually, I take that back. Let's move it here so we can call this channel 4. So I'm going to double click on here to rename it channel 4, and maybe for this situation we'll call it lead pad. Hit enter. So we have lead pad. So again, I have to assign this fader to one of our MIDI faders. So now I'm going to come over here to channel 4. I click on that channel 4. It brings up our mapping parameters. So I'm going to hit map parameter. Come over here, now click on the fader, and now this is assigned. Once that's assigned, I'm going to turn that off. Now I'm going to add my instrument. So we're looking for a lead pad. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to hit my instruments. And this time we're going to go into Omnisphere. So I have my instruments. Omnisphere is Spectrasonics. Spectrasonics Omnisphere. I'm going to come here and go stereo. So that will load. And now I'm into Omnisphere. And so I'll just quickly do this. Again, we'll do more tutorials to explain this further. I'm going to hit onto Omnisphere, and then from in here I can begin to search through my instrument. So I'm going to go into pad strings, and actually we're doing kind of a synth lead, so we'll do this synth poly, and these would be a bunch of my different lead synths. So we're just going to select this one, double click on it, and it showed up here. So now that is loaded, and once that is loaded I can exit out, and now I have a lead pad sound in this channel. So hopefully that helps, and in future tutorials we'll break down a little bit more in depth of how to get into Omnisphere and into native instruments and do some of the parameter changes within those.